It's now time to turn our attention to the round-leather game of football. Yes, what a feat it was for Ghana, making it 10 successive, AFCON appearances. Although it was a hard-fought victory for them against the Central African Republic, who took a shock lead in that match. But the Ghanaians were able to get back in the match, courtesy of a good free kick, right there, well taken, it must be said, by Mohamed Kudus, the West Ham signee. And you also had Ernest Nuama Appiah there scoring for Ghana to just ensure that they qualify for a 10th successive African Cup of Nations. Now, joining me to discuss this and more is Kayode Ojo, a sports analyst. Kayode, good morning. It's good to have you in studio with me.
Good morning, Samson. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning, viewers. It's good to have you around us.
Thank you so much. Let's delve into it. I mean, the Ghanaians are definitely a force to reckon with in African football, although in recent times, they've had, their own share of struggles, as it were, especially the last African Cup of Nations tournament, which was their worst ever. They finished the bottom of the group that even had Comoros. This time around, they've made it successive wins. Another, appearance at the AFCON. You also had Angola in the mix, as well as Tanzania getting favorable results to get them through to the next round. What do you make of the Ghanaians? Let's start from Ghanaians before we delve to the Angolans and Tanzanians. What do you make of Ghana's performance last night?
I think it was a good performance, looking at the goals that was scored by the individual brilliance of Kudus for that free kick. And you come to think of it, Ghana is actually coming from a phase in their international setup where their old generation, they are phasing out, and the new generation is coming in and they are trying to assemble all they need to assemble among the young guys that are coming up. And that's what you see that was obvious at the last Nations Cup, where they couldn't perform the way they're supposed to. But I believe with 6 matches in their qualification, and they were able to gather enough points, up to 12 points, for them to top the group. Thank God for the good, favorable result that happened between Angola and Madagascar, that actually ensure they remain the top of that group. It's a good one for them. I think from there they can actually build on their the main football team in their nation.
Okay, let's look at the Angolans now. They are definitely one of those nations that always find their way to the African Cup of Nations, but they fail to punch above their weight when it comes to the tournament itself, in terms of getting into the semifinals and all. You know what? I'll get your thoughts after this short, break. Please do stay with us.
One, two, good morning. Declare. Yeah, good morning. This is Ojo Kayode on News Central. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay. Thanks for staying tuned. This is Still in the Game, and I'm Samson Oloyede. I'm still being joined by Kayode Ojo, sports analyst, right here in the studio. Kayode, just before the break, we were talking about Ghana, as well as Angola and Tanzania sealing their qualification for the next African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast. What do you make of the Ghanaians' performance, the Angolans as well as the Tanzanians last night?
Beautiful performance. They do all what they need to do to make the qualification possible for them. But like you rightly said before we go on that break, you know, many of these teams, they perform at the preliminary stages in the qualification like this, and when you get to the major tournament, you see them not doing what they are supposed to do for them to keep up with the big boys in the tournament. Of course, we always have the boys and the men at every tournament, but of course we want them to build on this so that the cup will actually be more competitive than the way we actually can presume it to be from even before the kickoff of every tournament.
By that assertion, are you noticing that, you know, the expansion of the African Cup of Nations isn't making the tournament as competitive as it should be, considering with the last, you know, tournament we had some big upsets, Gambia making it to the next round. Yeah. You had Comoros as well, as I said, even, you know, finishing better than the Ghanaians in that group. So if you say that these teams do so well in preliminary stages, but when they get to the AFCON itself, they fail to punch above their weight, are you putting that down to the expansion in terms of the number of teams? Does that make, you know, the tournament less competitive than it should be?
Of course, it's not. It's just as a challenge to all those teams for them to come up smoking in the tournament, in the major tournament, the way they do. You know, maybe it's virtually because of the fact that they have to play at home, and sometimes they feel the eccentric nature of their stadium actually is a motivating factor to them. But when they are playing on a neutral ground at a host nation venue, so it becomes something that the player probably needs to work on, so that they will be able to deliver all of these things. Then we'll have a competitive, you know, tournament. The expansion doesn't make the tournament less competitive. It will always give, I mean, a lot of expectation on all of those other nations that are just coming up in their football for them to do more and for us to see more shock going forward in the tournament.
Okay, we'll see how that pans out for these teams. For Tanzania, known as the Taifa Stars, we know quite well that this is their third, you know, appearance at the African Cup of Nations and the first since 2019. So it's all about getting the funds as well to develop their football. And I think in East Africa right now, Tanzania can definitely say they are the top footballing nation, especially with Yanga doing so well in CAF competitions, especially the Champions League. Well, now let's look at other results from the African Cup of Nations qualifiers that took place yesterday. It wasn't only the Ghanaians that were in action. Other results right down on your screen. Angola played a stalemate. It was a result that ensured that they booked their place in the African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast. Ghana 2-1 over Central African Republic. Algeria played out a stalemate against Tanzania, and for Tanzania that was just enough to get them through. Niger lost at home to Uganda by 2-0 for the Ugandans. It was a matter of so close rather, yet so far. It was the result they needed, but they needed Algeria to also, defeat Tanzania for them to book a place. That didn't happen, so the Ugandans are not going to the African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast. A shame it is. Tunisia once again flexing their muscles over Botswana in terms of the qualification rather. So these teams have qualified: Ivory Coast, Morocco, Algeria, South Africa, Senegal, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Tunisia, Egypt, Zambia, Equatorial Guinea, Mali, Cape Verde, Guinea, Angola, as well as Ghana. And we'll see how that pans out. I'm talking about the African Cup of Nations. We know that there will be matches today to expect for various teams. Burkina Faso against Eswatini. You have Egypt against Ethiopia and Mali against South Sudan. These are the games you should expect in the African Cup of Nations qualifiers. Now let's turn our attention to the European scene. It's not just Africa that has to play qualifiers. You also had qualifying matches played yesterday for the European Championships, and quite a handful of results right there on your screen. The French team were able to get the victory over Ireland. For Tchouaméni, what a goal! That was a stunning goal, it must be said, for France. The Netherlands defeated Greece by 3-0. Cody Gakpo being on the score sheet as well. Poland, Lewandowski, you can always vouch for him to be on the score sheet for Poland, scoring off the spots right there for the first goal. Czech Republic surprisingly dropped points drawing at home to Albania. You had Serbia losing at home to Hungary, and there was a 4-goal thriller between Lithuania and Montenegro. But the big one had to be France against Ireland, especially with Tchouaméni scoring that caller.
And the follow-up from Malumbi will come back out to Obeni again.
Well, what a win that was for France against the Ireland. I was nodding my head there saying, yes, this is how to play football. Although you also want to question the quality of the opposition, talking about the Irish. They're not at the level of other top footballing nations. But you can't take anything away from that performance from the French team. Kayode is still here with me. Kayode, let's look at the French team. That was a very good performance, and it looks like they will definitely be, in the reckoning when it comes to the European Championships, contending for the title, even the World Cup that they fell agonizingly short last time. What do you make of that performance from the French team?
Wonderful performance from every department of the team. They actually did well. When it was time for the goalkeeper to be called to action at the 52nd or 56th minute, he made a magnificent save there, Marion. And that's what you make of a team. Every department has to be ready for everything that any team at all can put out to them. And it was a great one for them to actually have a clean sheet there. Great goal from Tchouaméni. Fine layoff from their captain, Kylian Mbappe. So the team are actually doing well at the moment, and Mbappe is surely leading from the front.
Yes, Mbappe leading from the front. Good to see that he's focused on football, considering, the transfer saga he was embroiled in alongside PSG. Real Madrid was in the shadows as well. And we'll see how that pans out going into next season, as it were, talking about the next summer's transfer window. Well, now let's look at matches to expect today, talking about the Euros. Yes, the European Championship, the qualifiers. There will be matches that will be taking place later today in the Euros, and we know quite well that Spain will be away to Georgia in terms of another match right there. You would also have Cyprus against Scotland. I'm not forgetting Croatia against Latvia, Turkey against Armenia, Luxembourg against Iceland. Cristiano Ronaldo and Rafael Leao will be away to Slovakia in terms of leading Portugal's charge right there. Let's see how that pans out for them. Now let's turn our attention to South American football from European football. Now, for South America football, we know quite well that it's all about the CONMEBOL qualification. And for CONMEBOL qualification, you had results from yesterday's matches, but the pick of the bunch had to be Argentina. Paraguay played out a stalemate against Peru, that was goalless. You had Colombia edging Venezuela, and Argentina edging Ecuador by lone goal. And you know quite well who got the goal. Your guess is as good as mine. Let's see highlights from that match. We'll be right back.
Un central, va a haber espacios. Esto es bueno, va de polva, viene el centro, va para Lautaro. ¡Palo! Lo tuvo la Argentina, la más clara de la noche, lo tuvo Lautaro Martínez. El palo salva Ecuador cuando se baja el telón de los primeros 46 minutos. Fue la más clara nomás. El centro de Paul, el anticipo de Lautaro, viene a los 9. El gol de Lautaro, viene el centro para Lautaro, enganche y pégale Lautaro, atrás para Messi, apunte y dispara Tagliafico, y la pelota se eleva cerca del travesaño, lo tuvo la Argentina en la mejor jugada del segundo tiempo, saque de arco.
Cuti Romero empuja a Argentina, y Argentina empuja a Ecuador. De aquellos dos buenos pases de Romero, en los primeros 12 de este complemento, a esta patriada.
Sí, Rodrigo, va para Messi, ahora sí, Messi apunta, dispara, Messi. Tapó el arquero en un gol sensacional. Definió con suavidad Lionel. Un enganche a lo Mesías. Lo tuvo la Argentina.
Puede andar sin explosión, puede faltarle una marcha, puede sentir que no hizo pretemporada y que desde allí no empezó a jugar.
Va Messi. ¡Messi!
You know, the beauty about greatness is the fact that each time you behold it, it just becomes a new image. And each time we see, the likes of Lionel Messi, Ronaldo play, it's always beautiful to watch. Lionel Messi has been doing it for how many years? 20 years plus? And it keeps getting beautiful. That was a well-taken free kick. Kayode, quickly, we've seen this. I mean, with Lionel Messi, we're lost for adjectives. We sound like a broken record whenever I want to qualify or quantify his contributions to the game, or Argentina as it were. What do you make of that free kick?
Fantastic free kick from the phenomenon himself.
Yeah.
So he's ever present in a team is always a hope for any coach that might be on the sideline for him. what a time to be a coach of Argentina for
Scaloni, yeah.
for him to be a coach at this time, having the magical influence of Lionel Messi in his team. And you can see they played the Argentina football team did everything they could to get a goal there. But because in from the highlights we just saw, every of the highlights was just about the Argentina national team. And yet they couldn't get a goal until a moment of magic came. And when there is a time for moment of magic, there's always a magician that can actually pull it off.
Yes, always a magician that can pull it off, and we know quite well that Messi is definitely at the top echelons of football's greatness. You can mention Pele, you can mention Maradona. I doubt if you would mention any other name before you mention Lionel Messi after those two. Who is the greatest of all time? That would always be up for debate, considering it's different areas, but you can't rule out Messi's greatness. Now let's talk about, I'm still staying with South African football. Let's hear from Nima, and the reason is Saudi Arabian football, as South America, I beg your pardon. We know quite well that Saudi Arabia in recent times, they've been spending the money to bolster their league and get the big names right there, and reactions continue to throw this step. Let's hear from Nima what he has to say concerning the Saudi Arabian league. Okay, let me quickly get your thoughts, Kayode, as quickly as we can, because this is something generating reaction. You even had PSG's president Nasser Al-Khelaifi, who is also the chairman of the European Clubs Association, reacting to the spending spree of the Saudis. Maybe we should hear from him first. Afterwards, I'll get your reaction concerning what he has to say and if this is the way to go in terms of elevating Saudi Arabian football.
It's politics for you, but for us, as we said, we are ECA, we are European Club Association. We focus in Europe, we focus in our clubs, we focus where, I said it yesterday, we have the best club competitions in the world. We have the biggest and the best team in the world, club in the world, the best and the greatest football players in the world. So I don't think, it's for me to judge outside of Europe. It's not fair from us. I think we focus on ourselves, focus how we be, where we want to be in next cycle. This is what I'm thinking about the others, which I think it's the most important now, how to develop our clubs and our European Club Association.
A diplomatic answer right there from, Nasser Al-Khelaifi, considering he's also from the Middle East, and he tried to play it safe. Oh, we're not thinking about others. It's just about us and how we can develop the European, clubs and the football in Europe, as it were. But we can't deny the fact that the way Saudi Arabia is spending, it's different from the way the Chinese did or Russians did way back, even when Samuel Eto'o had to join Anze Makachkala in 2011. This looks different. You have all the world stars right there, and it looks like it's a project that is, well advancing. So the big question is, can Saudi Arabia be a threat to European football in terms of getting more stars down there, and more importantly, probably elevating its status to what we have in European football?
It's going to be a challenge, a very big challenge, because you look at the European football, they have maintained the consistency for a long time. And like you have mentioned, you have the likes of the Chinese league. At the point, they were just buying and spending the money. But at the point, they could not maintain it. And a lot of players couldn't actually, they don't find it attractive as it's supposed to be. But now look at the Saudi Arabian league. They are trying to, they've seen the business part of football. That yes, there's a lot of money in this sport. So, and for us to generate money to bring people to the